Okay, we're going. So, we're just gonna go in how they're presented. So, Ant-Man. Let's see. It's a pretty solid movie, honestly. Um, Also, guys, I can obviously rearrange this list however I feel like it whenever time. Probably do a rearrange it over the favorite. Um, I don't know that's my favorite Marvel movie, but in case I didn't say it, this is the Marvel tier list. But I'm gonna start it solid A tier movie, honestly, pretty solid. B or C. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it. It's kind of a good. It's a really funny movie in my opinion. Like one of the funnier Marvel movies. So I think I'm gonna keep it an A for now. Although we might move it down. Comedy but weaker story. True. Okay, we'll move it down to B. Well, we might move it back up later depending on how the rest of the movies roll out. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Chat. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really like that one that much. Probably gonna put it in C tier. Yeah, it was weaker than the first one, or F. One can make an argument for F. It was weaker than the first one. It wasn't quite as funny. And the story arc was kind of weird in my opinion. Like the villain, the antagonist of the movie was I believe her name was Ghost, but like it wasn't even a really antagonist because like she was just trying, like, I don't know. It was a bad antagonist in my opinion. The Avengers. S tier. Honestly, one of the best Marvel movies of all time. Way ahead of its time in terms of crossover potential. Oh, did I put it in S? Oh, well, I guess it's staying in S now. Way ahead of its time in terms of like, just working as a team, like bringing all their main protagonists together. It's this movie. I don't care what anybody says. Iron Man did not start at all. Avengers is where Marvel really took off. Avengers: Age of Ultron. So, I actually watched all of the Captain America and all the Avenger movies last month over the course of a weekend. So, I'm pretty versed on all of these recently. B tier. I mean, it was a solid movie. Not that much special about it. Like, Ultron was an okay villain, and I mean, hold on, I'm gonna turn. Is my mic too loud, guys? If anyone audio needs to be adjusted, just let me know. But Ultron was an okay villain, and it was just kind of a forgettable movie. If I had Ultron in the comics is goated and the movies made him sad, yeah, no, I would concur with that. Like, and whiny. Yeah. I mean, if I hadn't seen it so recently, I probably would have forgotten most of it. Okay, Black Panther. Okay, chat. Don't hate me. It's only going in A tier. Yeah, but it's like they have... It's like you have no purpose but killing the speedster. Yeah. Okay, Black Panther, A tier. Very good movie. Not Avengers level, but very good movie. It just the way it introduced so many new characters that are so good. And I think the villain was one of the best villains Marvel's ever put out. By far. I think his name is Killmonger, right? Easily one of the best Marvel villains. One of the best story arcs. And no, it didn't have the comical properties of the rest of Marvel. That's why what dragged it down. You're still talking about Age of Ultron, right? I assume that's what you're talking about. But yeah. Yes, Killmonger, cool. I did get that right. But Black Panther, one of my favorite Marvel movies, just for all the characters they introduced. What's her name? Yuri? Am I getting that right? I don't think it's Yuri. What's his sister's name? I forget what her name is. Shuri. I was close. By far my favorite character in that whole movie. Okay. Captain America, this is the first Avenger. This is the first, Raph, no. We're not going to start referencing Doki Doki Literature Club. Okay. Captain America the First Avenger. Easy A tier movie. Behind Black Panther, though. Yeah. Also, one of the better origin movies in Marvel's collection. Right up there with Black Panther and probably first Spider-Man. Are probably some of the best, like, first movies for heroes. I don't know what else to say about it. It was just really good. I liked it a lot. Red Skull was kind of a letdown of a villain, but not as much as some of the other villains they've had. He was a passable villain, in my opinion. And one of the best continuing with Falcon and Winter Soldier. What? I'm confused with what you're referring to. Raph, explain. Are you talking about, it had the best long-term story? Okay, yeah, I see where you're going. Yes, Captain America's whole story arc, Captain America itself his arc is completed with Endgame, right? But his legacy is gonna live on through a long time with Marvel. Okay, the Winter Soldier. So chat, I know a lot of people didn't like this, but I actually liked this movie. I think it goes A tier. Or high B tier. I think it'll go high B tier. I know a lot of people didn't like how political it was and how espionage it was, but it was a knife. But I think that political, like, espionage feeling movie was a nice relief from all the just butt kicking of Marvel that usually goes on, and it gave a nice little different taste to Captain America and Shield. It put a new spin on Shield with Hydra that was really cool to watch and to experience. Just the surprise and shock. And when I believe in Endgame, when they went back and referenced the tower scene with Captain America and the Hydra agents in the elevator, that was, I really, like, after I watched Endgame, I went back and watched this movie, and saw that scene in a whole different light. Favorite of all of them. Interesting, Grayson. It's a little bit of a hot take, but probably really good choice. Civil War. I'm gonna put this in A tier behind Black Panther. Yeah, meh, low B. Okay, so here's my thing with Civil War. It's supposed to be a Captain America movie, but more anything than not, it was an Avengers movie. Like, / Iron Man movie. Because the whole plot involved trying to tear the Avengers apart by getting at Bucky and Iron Man, right? So, I get the point of having a nice crossover without having an actual, like, especially after the disaster that was Age of Ultron upon release, one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies when it came out. I get trying to have a successful crossover a couple years, like, I think this was a year later, right? This was 2016 and Age of Ultron was 2015, correct me if I'm wrong. I get wanting to try and have a successful crossover, but I don't know, it stuck a bad taste in my mouth with putting it in a Captain America movie. The plot was basically Tony being smart and Steve was like ooga booga. True though. I don't know. Okay, the major redeeming thing for this movie is the airport scene, the big pre-climax fight with Spider-Man, and just all the different interactions that happen in that whole airport scene, all the interactions that happen, all the it makes that scene is the highlight of that movie in my opinion. It is a little slow to start though, so that's why I put it behind Black Panther. Captain Marvel. Yeah, I'm sorry. I liked it when it came out, but after watching it a couple more times, it's just not that good of a movie. I think it's better than Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it's still not that great. As an origin movie, it's pretty bad. Poor plot development and main character had no charm. Well, the thing is, okay, so here's too overpowered in my opinion. Okay, so here's my thing with Captain Marvel. Her origin story was aight. Just aight. I don't remember any of the main villains. I really don't. And like, yeah, she was way too overpowered, especially for like when you think about it. There is only a handful of characters that got their superpowers from Infinity Stones, right? There's Vision, there's Scarlet Witch, there's Captain Marvel, and I think that might be it. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the thing was, here's my hot take. Captain Marvel is stronger than Vision. I think 1v1 Captain Marvel would win. And I think between her and Scarlet Witch, it would be really close. But Vision had the actual Infinity Stone implanted in him for his powers. Scarlet Witch was already a witch before those powers were amplified by the Mind Stone. And Captain Marvel was hit by what? Energy wave from the Tesseract? Or I guess it'd be the Space Stone, technically. And she can beat Vision, who is physically holding the Mind Stone, and hold her own against a wizard who has their powers amplified by the Mind Stone and his radiation. I honestly don't remember because it was such a forgettable movie. But long story short, her power levels are way above what they should be, in my opinion. And the movie itself just wasn't great. Captain Marvel is one of the strongest Marvel Universe characters in the comics, but the problem is that even the comics has trouble making her interesting. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Okay, Doctor Strange. Think about this. Think about your previous statement, or think about something you're about to type? Doctor Strange? Okay, we'll move on to Doctor Strange. Okay, Captain Marvel's only excuse for not being on Earth fighting Thanos was because there were other planets that needed defending. But I mean, Thanos wiped out half the universe. Yeah. So I think as a character, she just lacked the sense of like priorities, right? Like she didn't have the clear common sense to see that Thanos was a much bigger threat than anything else that she could be facing at the time. Yeah. Alright, Doctor Strange. Honestly, I liked this movie a lot. Like, a lot. Like, a lot. One of the best Marvel movies, in my opinion. Doctor Strange is a fantastic character. Like, the way he holds his, like, the nature of his character throughout his whole first half of his movie, going from egotistical doctor to egotistical space doctor, magic doctor. It's nice to see that a character's personality doesn't really change that much with new powers. Whereas it's funny because some heroes will go from, like Iron Man, from being, I like the conflict with losing doctorship. That's also a really good point. Doctor Strange had to deal with losing his actual doctor job because his hands, like, he can't be a surgeon anymore. And he goes to being, like, basically the primary defender of Earth for magical things, right? Magical threats. And I don't know, his whole personality is so charming and rememberable. Benedict Cumberbatch is a fantastic actor, and I think they did the role justice by choosing him. And like, I remember Benedict Cumberbatch for two roles primarily: Doctor Strange and Sherlock Holmes. And his ability to play Sherlock Holmes translates directly into being able to play Doctor Strange, and it works so well. Okay, this is Endgame, right? This is Avengers Endgame. SRA? Yes. So I think it's gonna go here. So my thing with Endgame is that it was mostly just fan service a lot of the time, which is great. I love fan service and all that, but to people that aren't that have only seen like maybe a third or half the movies, a lot of that movie isn't gonna, like, a lot of those references and a lot of those inside jokes aren't gonna land. And the thing with Endgame is that we all knew what was gonna happen in the end. There was gonna be a big climax battle with Thanos, and that we were gonna win. Like, we didn't know how it was gonna happen exactly. We knew time travel had something to do with it. And there were definitely points in the movie that had major twists that surprised me. But I think the problem with Endgame, and by extension Infinity War, is that there's too many different subplots going on to have that real connection to the main plot, right? I mean, obviously with Infinity War, you have the main plot being, oh yeah, half the universe is going to get wiped out if we don't succeed. But it's hard to remember that when there's a subplot that, like, I can't even remember. I just know there was like 17 different subplots in both of these movies, and it was kind of distracting. They also ruined the character of Hulk by making him the Professor Hulk. It just ruined the main issues. Yeah, that's another good point. Like, Professor Hulk, don't get me wrong, he's a good character. I like him. But they ruined Bruce Banner as a character because Bruce Banner, the interesting part, the good part about him was his constant conflict with his alter ego, the Hulk, right? And trying to, like, adapt and work with. But by combining them, they just kind of shoehorned around it by saying, oh yeah, they're the same person now, so he doesn't really have any conflict with it. Like, that's great that he accomplished that, but I would have preferred to see something where they learn to work together instead of being the same person. I like the fact Thanos is trying to destroy only half the universe rather than the usual whole universe. First of all, you spell whole wrong, which I'll forgive you for. But yeah, it's a little interesting touch. They combine them off screen as well. Yeah, like if they had their own story about it, that would be cool. Yeah, that's another thing. If they had their own like subplot of a movie, even if it's just a subplot of one of the Marvel movies, like I don't know what they put it in, but a subplot of one of the movies, like, just seeing it happen would be way more, like, I would be willing to forgive it then, because we'd be more rewarded by it. But as it stands, they're just like, yep, that happened. And we just have to live with it now. Guardians of the Galaxy. This is the first one. Right? Yeah, this is the first one. Here is the weird thing, right? Thanos tried to kill half the universe and then destroyed the stones, but, like, the population would just regrow. Okay, so here's my thing with Thanos and the stones, right? Like, I understand him wanting to be the good guy and not having that temptation for somebody else. But if you're gonna play God and just delete half the universe, it's like, doesn't it seem right to be the guardian of that power then? Like, I think his character would be more inclined to see himself as the guardian of the stones at that point, right? Instead of just destroying them and saying, huh, yeah, bye. I don't know. Guardians. Yeah, my favorite Marvel movie by far. Guardians 2 isn't as good. If someone tries to tell you that Guardians 2 is better than 1, tell them no. Haha, lol. Such a good movie. Such good characters. Like, it has plot, it has comedy, it has character arcs to boot. I could talk about this for hours, so I'm gonna try not to. I love Rocket Raccoon and Groot's friendship. It's probably one of the best Marvel friendships, in my opinion. Right up there with Captain America and Bucky. And it's just... Okay, I'm gonna ignore that for half a second, Clay. Guardians is such a good movie. like I said, I love the comedy in it. It's got some of the best comedy in the MCU, like right there with Spider-Man. Except it's done in a more mature way, which is funnier, at least to me. And the whole prison sequence, the scene, all the scenes involving the prison is probably one of the highlights of the movie. Alright, so well, in the comics, Thanos is in love with death. True. And he wants to kill half the universe to please her. Yes. That's a good point for Thanos. But I still think he would see himself as the guardian of the stones instead of just using the stones to meet an end and then destroying them, right? But whatever. Your camera makes your dresser look warped AF. True. I don't particularly care. If anybody's looking at my dresser, then that's their issue. Guardians 2. I would say S tier. It's not as good as Guardian 1, but also a very strong movie. My only complaint with the Guardians 2 was that it had, like, I don't like Ego, the Living Planet, as a villain. It's, like, just the whole plot involving the Ego being his dad and how and everything that he did to succeed or whatever just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't like him as a villain. Other than that, Guardians 2 is a very solid movie. Very good. The Hulk. I've seen this movie once. And I didn't like it. F. Honestly, probably the only F tier movie on this list. It's really bad. I think this was pre what's his face, right? Made by Universal. Yeah. F in the chat, boys. What is Mark Ruffalo? This is pre Mark Ruffalo, right? This is the other Hulk actor that nobody cares about. I don't know. That already turns it off for me. Phoenix is there in there, not the only F. Wait, what? You say Phoenix is in there? Where do you see Phoenix? I don't see Phoenix. Phoenix isn't even a Marvel movie, right? Or am I making that up? Isn't that a DC? No, that's Thor Ragnarok, you ding dong. Anyway, we'll continue. Infinity War. We're gonna go right here. Clay, I'm confused. Raph, I really don't care if it looks the same or not, because I've never seen Phoenix, so it doesn't matter. Avengers Infinity War. We already talked about this a little bit when we were talking about Endgame, but really solid. Again, there's too many subplots for me, but I mean, it's a freaking Avengers movie. There's 1,700 characters on screen at any given point, so it makes sense that there's that many subplots. I personally think that they could have, I don't know. It's just a really good movie. I liked it a lot. I liked the ending was where nobody thought it was going to. So I remember when we were getting ready for this release, everything was hush hush, right? And I remember vividly seeing all the theories about how it would take Thanos would get like 3 or 4 stones in the first movie and then attempt to get the other 2 in the last movie, and then like there'd be a huge battle then, right? But the way they ended it with him just snapping his fingers and half a life disappearing and mainly collecting all 6 stones in the first movie, because everybody knew this was gonna be a 2-parter. So him collecting all 6 and succeeding in the first movie was a huge turn. As for Drax's "Why is Gamora?" honestly one of the best lines in the movie. But yeah, like the huge turn about him actually succeeding in the first movie and having the fallout in the second movie was actually super smart. And honestly, very strong movie for it. Alright. This is the original Iron Man. It's gonna be an A tier somewhere. I don't know if before or after Captain America. I wish I could put it at the same level because I don't really have a preference over which one. I think Captain America is a slightly stronger, better origin movie though, so we'll put it behind it. Iron Man, I don't know. It's a movie that low A. Yeah, that's where I have it. It's like the movie, like everybody says, the movie that started it all. Honestly, Iron Man, if this first movie didn't succeed, we would not have the MCU today. So the fact that it had to succeed for this whole little experiment to work. Everything after that is mid B at best, to be honest. We'll get to the next movies. But Iron Man was just a really good start of a movie. Had a very good plot, in my opinion. Honestly, the villain. I meant the next Iron Man movies. Oh, okay, gotcha. The villain was kind of forgettable. Obadiah Stone, right? I think that's what his name is. His motives were pretty solid, trying to replicate Tony's success, but only for power instead of protection, right? But like, I don't know. I think the climax was really good. I always love it when movies foreshadow how they're going to beat the villain, like semi-clearly with the ice in space. That was I really appreciated that foreshadowing. And that's, like, I don't notice foreshadowing a whole lot, but that one I always have noticed, and it has always stuck out to me. And I think that's just good movie making, in my opinion. Sorry, my throat's getting really dry from all this talking. I'm not used to talking this much, guys. Alright. Iron Man 2. Honestly, one of my least favorite Marvel movies. I don't know what it is about, like, direct sequels, but a lot of the times, sequels are just not good. Unless it's Shrek 2, which we'll talk about later, I think. But, like, I don't know. It was just it's forgettable. Like, I don't remember any of this movie, and I've seen it recently. Like, I think this was the one with, like, the whole armor plot, like, with the whole plot around, War Machine, right? Had War Machine in it, I think, where War Machine got to start. Yeah, I don't even remember the villain in this movie. That's how forgettable it is. Who was the freaking villain in this movie? Whiplash, okay, and the rich dude wasn't. Chat, we're gonna find out together. Iron Man 2 plot. No, Mandarin was the third one, right? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, nobody cares about this. Nobody cares about this because nothing interesting happened. The plot was that Whiplash hated Tony and wanted him dead, and then the rich dude wanted a monopoly over the military spending. Okay, I don't care about that one bit. Honestly, I hate it. Like, the fact that this movie is so freaking forgettable, and I can't even remember the plot even after looking at the Wikipedia page, tells you how bad of a movie it is. Iron Man 3. Only slightly better than Iron Man 2. Hot take. Iron Man 3. Better movie than the first Iron Man movie. That is a hot take, Clay. I disagree. Which that means I guess I would have the cold take then, right? Like, the plot wasn't as interesting. The movie wasn't as interesting. The villains, at least I can remember the villains in this movie. The fire dudes. But here, we'll put it above Captain Marvel and I'm sorry, Ant-Man and the Wasp was getting moved up because I liked his movie better than both of these movies. Okay, yes, the destruction of his suits was a good theme. And the climax was but I don't know, this is another movie I disliked in general. There's not much to say about it. Yeah. Didn't he have, like, relationship issues with Pepper in this movie? I know he had him in all the movies, but this one, like, it was pronounced, right? I don't know. Spider-Man Homecoming. Easy A. Honestly, actually, easy S. One of the best, like, yeah, S. Yeah, one of the best Marvel movies. Had really good, really good actors. Really good themes. Like, especially with the villains. The villain, the Vulture, one of the best Marvel villains out there. Like, along with, like, I don't know, I mentioned somebody else, like, along with Killmonger from Black Panther, right? Like, I don't know, Vulture was, like, his motivations were actually, like Killmonger, relatable, understandable, and, like, human, right? It wasn't like, oh yeah, I want to rule the world. Oh yeah, I want to destroy everybody else. It's like, no, I just want to, like, he wanted to have a life, right? Motivation, good villain, nice conflictions on helping and hurting others. Right, yeah. Exactly. Like, Spider-Man, the plot of Spider-Man held it up alone. Not to mention Tom Holland, right? Tom Holland. And just Spider-Man. Hot take, I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man, actually this probably isn't a hot take anymore. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is better than both the other Spider-Man actors combined. Like, you have Tobey Maguire had, yeah, best Spider-Man, hands down, easily. Tobey Maguire had the acting down. Andrew Garfield had the comedy down. Tom Holland takes them both up to 11. Better than both. Far From Home. Not as strong, but also a really good movie. Probably gonna go right there. My main issue with this is Mysterio. You think it's still S? And it's not all in the US. Let's go low S tier. Okay, I can accept low S tier. I don't know. You loved Mysterio? I don't know. I liked him as a character. I didn't like. Okay, I personally didn't like Mysterio, but he was a good villain. He wasn't as good as some of the other villains they've had, like Killmonger and Vulture, but because, like, his whole thing was he wanted to get revenge at Tony Stark, right? But, like, there's hundreds of different ways to go about that. I guess, and, like, at this point, Tony's dead, right? You can't compare anyone to Killmonger. He's just better. Fair enough. He didn't have the best motivation, but it made sense. Okay, his motivation was fine. It's how he enacted on it that is bothersome to me. Because at this point, Tony's dead. You don't have to go after Spider-Man to get your revenge. Like, you can go after, like, 17 different other targets. That would be higher targets, right? Or no, he wanted Edith, right? The Stark satellite. I guess you would have to go after Spider-Man for that. I don't know. I had issues with the villain in that. Let's just say that. Thor movies. Thor: The Dark World. Hot take. I think it's low B. Stop saying F. What was wrong with very hot take? Yeah. What? You put it higher. Okay. Here's my thing. Then Iron Man 3. I didn't like Iron Man 3, okay? You are insane. Here's my thing with Thor: The Dark World. This whole tier list is invalid now. Clay, shut up. I don't care. I said this is subjective, didn't I? My thing with Thor: The Dark World is that I remember it more than either of these two movies. That's the only reason I have it higher than both those movies. Because I can actually remember it. And I've only seen it once. If that's not a valid opinion, then I don't know what is. That's all I have to say about that movie. Thor Ragnarok. That's going right there. Really good movie. I can't put everything in S tier, Clay. Makes sense, but I swear if you put the OG above it, I will find you. Wait, the original Thor? Okay, so Thor Ragnarok, comedy gold, honestly. One of the best. Yep. Thor Ragnarok's comedy gold. Hela was an amazing villain. Not as good as Vulture, I think, but still a really good villain. I don't know. I think the whole arc around him losing his hammer and having to find like his own power and like having to harness it without like a focal point is just really strong. First two Thors were kind of dog, in my opinion. Okay, that's a very valid opinion. But the whole ending with Bruce Banner was a fantastic side character in this movie, not gonna lie. Thor 3 was hilariously good though. Honestly, such a good movie. One of the best, like I said, one of the best Marvel movies. Honestly, you guys have convinced me. It's going up here. Yeah, it's just so good. I love it so much. Anyway, Ethan, get offline. You're annoying bastard. Thor. I'm gonna put it right here, right next to Thor: The Dark World. The original Thor is better than 2, but only slightly. So like Thor 2 F and Thor would be C, low C. I think there was some good parts of Thor, but I think it was still too early for Marvel to know how to make it like Thor was still phase 1, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Thor was phase 1. So Marvel was still finding its footing on how it was going to produce its movies. So I think the whole thing with Thor is for the era and for what Marvel was trying. I think it was a pretty solid movie. Granted, it wasn't great. Don't get me wrong, it was pretty bad. But for Marvel at the time, it was pretty okay. Alright, so I guess that means this is my final Marvel tier list, with Guardians taking my favorite spot. We have Avengers Infinity War, Guardians 2, Spider-Man Far From Home, Thor Ragnarok, this one's Spider-Man Homecoming, then Thor Ragnarok. And landing in support. I'm doing a tier list. I'll probably play later though. After stream. Maybe stream a little bit. Anyway. Yeah, this is my tier list. Take it as you want. Chat, any objections besides the ones that have already been voiced? None? Good. We will move on.